Hey, what's up guys? In this video, we are going to be talking about a warm-up that could see some areas in the United States be 30 degrees above normal, as well as severe weather returning to the plains and the Midwest next week. So without any further ado, let's get straight into this video. So, not expecting anything in terms of severe weather today. So we're going to take a look here at the maximum temperatures for the day across the country. You can see for the Northeast, looking at 50s to 60s, maybe some 70s get sprinkled in there. For portions of the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic, 50s to 60s, also some 70s. For the Northern Plains, 60s and 70s. For the Great Plains, you have 70s and then 80s down there in Texas. For the Northwest, 60s into 70s, and then 70s and 80s for the Western United States there, just as a whole. Potentially some 90s in Arizona. So if we take a look here at the Southeast, just not really a lot going on. And that's kind of the key for a lot of the country over the next 48 hours. You really just don't have a whole lot of stuff going on. Turn our attention over here to the Northeast. You can see the area of low pressure there, snow on the back end of it. You can see then that snow starts to fill in here and into portions of the Northeast. Still keeps snowing. This is right around 5-6 a.m. tomorrow. Here's 7 a.m. Snow just keeps coming through, and it finally starts to dwindle at about 10 p.m. tomorrow night. So if we go ahead and do take a look here at the snowfall totals, you can see we got 6 to 8 inches here in the pink, and 2 to 4 anywhere in these darker blues, and in these lighter blues is going to be a 1 to 3 inch range. 1 to 2, 1 to 3, got a trace here in spots. Another potentially heavy pocket of 6 to 7, but for the most part in the Northeast, 1 to 3 inches of snow can be expected for the places that do see snow. For the southern Great Plains, we can see here, again, just not really a lot going on over the next 48 hours. However, that will change for this area going into Monday, as we were talking about a little bit later on. For the Midwest, kind of have the same kind of ordeal here, just not a lot happening. Maybe you got some, sour sprinkled in here about 5 o'clock tomorrow, but excuse me. Otherwise, though, not a lot going on over this next little bit. So here for the Northern Plains, not a lot going on. Not a lot at all. It's just dry over the next 48 hours still. Kind of has been the story up there. It's just not really any stuff weather-wise going on. So for the Northwest, we look here. Again, for the Northwest, just not a lot going on. You got some stuff going on to your south, but as a whole, for the most part, the Northwest is dry until we get right to the end of the 48 hours, and some snow starts sneaking into portions of Oregon. So now if we take a look at the southwestern United States, there's that area of low pressure there, bringing your rain, getting some snow coming in. And this is right around 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, when that heavy snow starts to really build in. And right about 3 p.m. tomorrow, snow starts really coming into the Sierra Nevadas. That low pressure really starts to strengthen up and start really cranking some heavy snow here. However, it doesn't last particularly long, but then maybe you do get a second wave here right at the end of the 48 hours. This is about 7 a.m. Sunday morning. You can see where all that heavy snow is. And if we look here at the total snowfall amounts that we could see over the next 48 hours, for areas of Northern California, 6 to 8 inches of snow, 3 to 5 here anywhere in these blues, 1 to 4s here. The heaviest snow though will for sure be in the Sierra Nevadas here, 7 to 10 inches anywhere in this pink. The darker these pinks, the heavier the snowfall amounts, potentially exceeding a foot. So a good amount of snow here expected, and again, we do see that kind of second wave of snow start to come in right at the end of the 48 hours. So likely going to get more snow than this in total, but over the next 48 hours, that's what you can kind of expect to see here. So now we're going to take a look here at these temperature anomalies and take a look at the warm-up that we do expect to take place. So if we go ahead, this is 4 p.m. today. You can see temperatures already 23 degrees above normal for portions of Montana, 5 degrees only for the plains. But here you can see where the biggest warm-up is. If we look at tomorrow here, you can see a big warm-up here for North and South Dakota, potentially 32 degrees above your average temperature for the time of year, and potentially even for Kansas 25 to 26. So definitely going to be pretty warm. But if you look like here in California, for example, you're 23 degrees below your average temperatures, and potentially up to 16 degrees below normal there for portions of the Northeast. If we move this on over to Sunday, again, about 4 p.m., again, 20 to maybe 24, 25 degrees above average for portions of the northern plains, 20 degrees potentially below average for portions of California. So colder out in the west and definitely much warmer out in the middle of the country here. And Monday, again, potentially 30 degrees still above normal for North and South Dakota, 10 to 12 degrees for the rest of the plains, maybe 17 in spots here. And Tuesday, you can see we start to kind of even out again, and we start kind of slowly getting back down to average. Wednesday, now you're starting to get below average temperatures starting to fill in here for portions of North and South Dakota. The plains, however, the central plains, southern plains, still a little bit above average, but then we do have this cold blast coming through here, which will send those same areas that were above average for a good 4 or 5 days. Now we're below average by potentially up to 20 degrees up north, and by maybe 11 degrees down in places like Oklahoma. Texas might be 12 degrees below average in spots, while California is now a little bit above average from anywhere from 4 to maybe 13 degrees above average. So gonna get a kind of a flip-flopping here in terms of our weather pattern later on into the week. So now if we take a look here at our severe weather, you can see on day 4, which is Monday, we do still have that 30%. Not really much has changed to it. Got that 30% for portions of Texas and Oklahoma and Kansas. I could definitely see that 30% getting extended up into Garden City, potentially even Colby, Kansas, as we will be talking about here in just a minute, and you will see why that is. So taking a look here first at the GFS, this is one of the last days we'll be looking at it, but we will still look at it for right now. We can see dew points here in the mid 60s, potentially even the 70s here in portions of Texas. Definitely still got that rich moisture here. If we look at the 500 millibar winds, 70 to 80 knots here, another 70 to 80, 70 to 75. Got a good amount of winds here at the 500 millibar level. Those are the winds way up in the atmosphere. And now if you look at the 850 millibar winds, this is the tornado fuel. These are the winds about a mile above your head. 30 to potentially 40 knots here. So low level jets definitely downtrending on the setup here, so that's something to keep in mind. as it has been for a little bit now. Instability, now you can see the highest values are up north into Kansas. Still, we have enough instability to get the job done here in Oklahoma. 1200 Cape. We do have a minus 85 CIN, so the cap's a little bit stronger than it was, but 81 knots of shear. That minus 85 CIN is moderately strong, but with the amount of traffic and lift that we have, I do anticipate that we will have no hazards mode, and actually, if anything, that will more or less help aid in an isolated mode for Oklahoma. Yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. Sorry if I'm all stiffly. I'm not feeling the best today, but I still wanted to get a video out. So just bear with me on that. Now, if we take a look at the NIM, you're going to notice some disparities here. Look how sharp this dry line is. 60's out ahead of it, and right behind it, you're in the 20s. Bone dry behind the dry line here, as the name implies. Moisture is not quite as high. On the GFS, we had moisture of about 67 to 68 degrees. And it maxes out at about 65 in Oklahoma here. But 60-degree dew points do make it all the way up into portions of central Nebraska. So definitely got to watch for that. If we take a look here at the 500 millibar winds, you can see that area of low pressure right there up into Colorado. And the main ski jump off the trough here does expand into Kansas here, where you have 80 to really almost 90 knots. And then you're right there, 80 to 85 here for portions of Oklahoma, 70 to 80. If we take a look here at the low-level jet, absolutely cranking here in Kansas, 60 to 65 knots. This low-level jet will absolutely be roaring here in Kansas. Maybe portions of northern Oklahoma, anywhere here in these reds, is where the low-level jet will be the strongest in Oklahoma. However, it's still strong enough down here to get the job done. If we do look here at our instability, big difference from the GFS. The GFS had instability basically throughout the entirety of Kansas and Oklahoma. The NAM, it's been struggling this year. All the models really has just a thin, just a couple of counties really of instability. But in the areas where the instability does exist, also exists a potential for potentially some stronger tornadoes of AF2 or greater, especially up when you get into Kansas. Much more favorable photographs up there. If you look at a significant tornado parameter, just absolutely insane numbers here up in Kansas and into Nebraska. The highest tornado potential is going to be here. However, tornadoes can't be ruled out really anywhere along this little axis here. If we get more of a GFS solution with NAM kind of kinematics, could lead to quite a few tornadoes. I'll just leave it at that for now. So we'll have to watch this carefully to see how this evolves going forward. So if we look here at our day 5, so this is for Tuesday, there's a 15% risk of severe weather that extends all the way from Waco, Texas, all the way up here into La Crosse, Minnesota, Des Moines, Iowa. It's a big slight risk. So if we look at our dew points here, you can see, really I'm not buying too much of the Minnesota part of the risk, but you can see here with these dew points, big area here, big warm sector of 60-degree dew points. Going to be a pretty widespread looking event. If you look at the 500 millibar winds, you can see where that area of low pressure is. So immediately I'm thinking areas of Iowa potentially, Arkansas, Missouri. Definitely your biggest severe weather and all hazards risk is almost certainly going to be right in here, right off where that low pressure is at. If you look at the low level jet, again, it's really high here in Missouri, 50, 55 knots, 50 to 60 knots potentially. And if we do look at our instability, not a big area of strong, instability. The highest area is definitely going to be in Iowa, and the portions of Missouri here we have over 1,000 Cape. But anyway, that's all I've got for you guys today. Drop some likes on this video if you guys did enjoy it. Subscribe, turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload from me. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Pieces.